Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to webinar number 4 in our series of climate change and the African entrepreneur. As you know, my name is Stephen Carr, and I am the co-founder and CEO of the Agripreneurship Alliance. And today I am going to take a back seat. My colleague, John Magonia, is going to be taking most of the lead today. So good morning, John.
Morning, Stephen. Morning, everyone.
And today I really do just want to start off with saying, acknowledging that it is Africa Day today. This is really exciting. The theme for today's Africa Day is Our Africa and Our Future. And obviously that could not be more important for the topic of discussion today. Because today we are talking about soil. And I am not going to go into details in this because we've got 3 amazing speakers to do that for us. And before I go on to introduce them, and my colleague John will be involved in that as well, I just wanted to mention about the interpretation that is available. Our good friend Rim is online, and that means that if you are able to join us from Francophone West Africa, you can listen to the French language live translation. And to do that 2 ways. If you are on a laptop, please click on the globe symbol at the bottom of your computer screen, and that will take you through to enable you to choose French language translation. And if you are on a smartphone, whether it's Android or iOS, please click on the 3 small dots that you will see on your screen. And again, that will take you through to translation. And so, as I mentioned, today we are talking about soil. And in many ways, soil is a really, really vital subject for this discussion today about climate change and food entrepreneurs across Africa. Soil is such a ubiquitous substance. We walk on it every day. It is vital for our lives in terms of the food that is produced using the medium of soil. It is also something which is at risk from climate change. Particularly because of extreme climate weather events, erosion and so forth. But it is also has the potential for being one of the major mitigators of climate change. And I'm going to say no more about that because, as I say, we have the experts today who will enable us to talk through that. So our first speaker today, who I just want to check if they are online, is Eugene Rurangwa from the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. Mr. Rurangwa, are you online?
Yes, sir, I'm online. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I know it's very early for you.
Yes, it's early, but it's okay. I had to rush through traffic jam.
Okay. So I can't really introduce you as well as you deserve. What I do want to say is that I'm really privileged that Mr. Rurangwa was able to join us today. Mr. Rurangwa was explained to me as being the UN-FAO's soil expert for Africa. And I'm just really privileged that you were able to share the time that you have to introduce and set the scene for this really vital and important topic today.
Yes.
Now, I will say this to everybody, please. We have a very, very exciting topic today. And it's something we can all get very passionate about. But I'm asking all of our 3 speakers to please try to speak for a maximum of 20 minutes. So if that is possible, I'd be very, very Grateful. Mr. Rurangwa, would you like to manage your slides at your side? Would you like me?
I would wish you to pass it on. I think I have a difficult on my side here.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. Just let me know when you need to have each slide changed.
Yes, yes, thank you.
And as I say, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, please.
And the floor is yours. Thank
you so much, Stephen. Really, I thank you very much to have associated me in this very important webinar. And I think the topic and the day is really opportune because, you know, today is really Africa Day, as you have said. And Africa Union Commission, actually, if I may say, on the same topic, African Union Commission, as you may be aware, is also preparing a very big summit on fertilizer and soil health in Africa. So it means that Africa really is very, very aware of the importance of soil or importance of sustainable soil management in Africa to be able to produce more in also order to cope with climate change. So the topic that I need to come in, as you wished, it's sustainable soil management as a mean to enhance agricultural production and climate resilience in Africa. Next, please. So why are we promoting sustainable soil management in Africa? First of all, on one side, soil, or if you mean healthy soil, is the basis of crop, forests, and livestock production. And also soil is essential for all life on Earth, for healthy people and healthy planet. And as you know, almost 95% of our food came from soil. Soil is not only important for production, actually, it is also important for climate regulation, playing a vital role in hydrology, carbon, and the nutrient cycles. It also plays an essential role in biodiversity and ecosystems conservation. Soil is home to more than 25% of our planet's biodiversity, as you may be aware. On the other side, more than 40% of soil in Africa are degraded, making this the top priority issue to tackle, along with water scarcity, of course, water access, knowing that a large part of our continent is dry land. Next, please. As I said, Africa soils are at least at risk. 40% of Africa's soil are degraded, especially due to soil erosion. Actually, soil erosion is the most prominent element of degradation, of soil degradation. Soil nutrient depletion, soil organic matter decline, as well as soil biodiversity loss. There are a series of treats that you can see on this slide. Actually, 10 soil traits that we have on soil. Apart from soil erosion, actually, there is also organic carbon change, nutrient imbalance, salinization and solidification, soil sealing and land take, loss of soil biodiversity, contamination or pollution, acidification, compaction, and waterlogging. Actually, waterlogging, compaction, even acidification, those are really elements that came from the effect of climate change. As you know, when we have flood, when we have also the lack of rain, the soil became compact, and also the acidification came in. Next, please. So on the part of soil fertility, As you know, the global population will exceed 9 billion by 2050. And there will be an increased demand for healthier and nutrition food. To meet this food demand, actually, the agricultural production will increase globally by 60%. And mainly, we are estimating that in developing countries like in Africa, the agricultural production increase may reach 100% to be able to meet really the demand of food for increased population. So there is a lot of things to really to do to be able to tackle this. Next, please. So what can we do? It's important to promote sustainable soil management, best practices at farmland level and landscape level. There are a series of practices that I will pass through briefly. The soil erosion control and water conservation, water harvesting and macro irrigation. Actually, water is really very key in maintaining soil health. Optimized soil fertility management with enhanced soil organic matter content. Soil conservation or conservation agriculture with the techniques of making sure that the soil is covered permanently, especially by crop residues and cover crops, and intercropping or crop diversity. Agroforestry and natural forest regeneration systems is also very important in this regard. Also, integrated crop livestock aquaculture management. So those are really some best practices that I needed to enhance here or to show because those are really very key in Africa. Next, please. So I will just pass through some techniques that we are experiencing in Africa. In West Africa, the part of Sahel, and we are actually using some methods that have shown very good result. The method that we call half moon, actually it's a method of soil and water conservation in these dry lands. And there is also the Zai or Tassa in Burkina Faso and Niger that is applied. On the other side, in the highland places like Rwanda, Ethiopia, mainly, they are using terraces, which is also a very, very efficient method of soil and water conservation. Next, please. Water harvesting and water use efficiency for irrigation. I have said that water is very important, not only in dry land, but everywhere. Water is very important to keep soil health. So we are trying to support countries in West Africa mainly and other dryland countries to develop some innovative techniques of water harvesting and water use efficiency by using solar-powered systems. Those pictures that we are seeing are from the Gambia, mainly, where we are supporting women and the young people in agriculture, but using those innovative methods of water harvesting and water use efficiency using solar irrigation methods. Next, please. Crop diversification and integrated production systems. Those really are methods that are applied everywhere in Africa. We need to upscaling those methods because they have a lot of benefits, like to maximize the production and available land, increase land use efficiency, protect the soil against erosion, improve food diversity and food security, improve soil health and soil fertility, and agronomic benefits in terms of pest management, reducing livelihood vulnerability to climate change or market shocks, increase income stability for smallholders, nature-based solution for sustainable and climate resilient agriculture, intensification, improve the biodiversity and the agroecological systems. Those are benefits of really those integrated production systems. Next, please. On the side of integrated fertility management, optimize nutrient management with enhanced soil organic matter content in the soil. This is very important. Organic matters in the soil is very important to maintain soil fertility or to improve not only nutrient in the soil, but also to make sure that water is very well captured in soil. So this integrated concept of soil fertility is really very, very important because it interacts in different way at the level of soil, and this really help to improve fertility. Next, please. Again, it's another example of enhanced soil organic matters, showing the importance of soil organic matters in the soil, because soil organic matters help to improve water retention, erosion prevention, the maintenance of soil fertility, as I have said, filtration, and the nurturing of pollutants. Very important to tackle the issue of pollution in the soil. Nutrition, to improve nutrition. Actually, even these methods help really to sustainable development by passing through many SDGs, mainly SDGs 1, 2, and 13, as really it is important. On the other side, on the climate change adaptation and the mitigation, to enhance soil organic carbon, help to increase resilience to drought and flood, and also to balance greenhouse gases. Next, please. Yeah, it's the same example here, enhance organic matters content. So it's just an example that I need to show. Those are really how to enhance organic matters in the soil. Actually, it's to add compost, mulching, reduced tillage, sustainable water management. We have said that, sustainable grazing, and the pasture management, very important also. Next, please. So those are just examples in agroforestry. Agroforestry is really very important. Being in a dry land, being in a highlands, it's very important to include agroforestry in those techniques, because it helps to tackle the climate change aspect in the one side, and also it helps to increase fertility of soil. Next. Integrated crop, livestock, fisheries, aquaculture, forestry management. This is really very, very important. Integrated cropping system is very important because not only it helps to maintain various terrestrial ecosystem, even marine ecosystems, but these techniques is very important to include it in our solutions as far as sustainable soil management is concerned. Next. Innovative technologies in organic agriculture. Actually, these techniques actually for aquaponics, food production that integrate fish and plant farming. It's really very genius because not only it helps to increase, to use actually water that is used for aquaculture in agriculture, but also this is a method that actually doesn't use soil. Actually, it's a soilless method. So if we need to conserve our soils, it's very important to use those techniques that even protect soil by using soilless methods. Very important, as well as agroecology. Actually, those techniques are linked. Next. So apart from those techniques, to be able to apply those techniques, it's very important that we have enabling environment to be able to be successful in sustainable soil management. Inclusive policies and governance, very important. Research, very important. We can't move forward without really including research in what we need to do in terms of sustainable soil management. Researchers are very important in this regard. Education and extension programs, very important. Investment is needed in sustainable soil management. Stopping soil degradation, restoring degraded soil, soil information system, very important also. Those are enabling environment that help actually to be successful in sustainable soil management. Next. So FAO has been able to produce, FAO and actually even the African Union Commission were able to produce some normative tools in terms of normative or policy documents that help just to enhance sustainable soil management. There is the work on land policy in Africa. The land policy and land laws are very important to be able to secure land tenure for our people. Revise world soil charters that shows actually in terms of indicators where are we in terms of managing our soils. The voluntary guidelines on sustainable soil management, very important to guide us in this regard. And also in terms of fertilizer, there is a fertilizer code that was produced in 2019 to help just to be able to manage appropriately our soils. Next, please. So it's the same here. It's the fertilizer code where many stakeholders are also involved in this. Next. Soil mapping, very important. If we need to manage our soil, it's very important to know the quality or the potential of our soil. It's very difficult to manage something that you don't know. It's like in medicine, the medical doctors can't give medicine if he doesn't really make appropriate examination to see what is the case, what is the illness you have, so that he can be able to practice. So soil mapping is very important. Better data are important to make sure that the decisions that are taken are appropriate. So soil mapping in general, and FAO has been able to support many countries in Africa to produce soil maps, and also some thematic map, very important, like the global soil organic carbon sequestration potential map at the global level, but also at African level. We have trained technicians in many countries in Africa to be able to produce digital soil organic carbon maps. Next. Soil information system, actually it's linked with the soil map. When you have maps, you need really to be able also to make sure that you have an appropriate soil information system. African Union through FARA is preparing a soil initiative for Africa, where the soil information system in Africa is really has shown that it is a priority in Africa. We need to develop a soil information system so that it helps us to manage very well African soil. Next. The Glossolan, another thing that is very important in terms of managing our soils is to make sure that the laboratories, soil laboratories, are very well equipped, because to be able to produce soil map, you have to analyze soil to know exactly the potential of our soil. FAO has supported globally countries to develop laboratories. In Africa also, we have the same global soil laboratory assessment. We have also what we call AfriLab, Africa Soil Laboratories, where FAO with other stakeholders, we are trying to support country to improve the lab soil so that they can be very well equipped to be able to analyze appropriately the soil. Next, please. A recommendation that I could put here, synergy among sustainable soil management actors should be promoted, very important. Better participation of farmers in sustainable soil management linkage activities should be encouraged. Actually, here we need the linkage between policy makers, researchers, and farmers to be able to work together to find an appropriate solution for sustainable soil management. Sustainable soil management implementers should explore, improve, and promote farmers' indigenous knowledge of soil management and soil health. The techniques that I have shown you in West Africa, like the half moon and the zai, actually, those are traditional or indigenous techniques that we are trying to support farmers to improve, because those are really very good systems, but very good techniques, but they need to be improved so that we have good result. Media publicity of sustainable soil management technologies among farmers should be promoted as well and funded, of course. Investment in research extension, farmer input linkage system should be enhanced so as to achieve a well-organized structure and delivery of sustainable soil management upscale among the end users. Next, please. What? No, this is not mine. What this came from? Okay. Okay. So as conclusion, really soils, healthy soils matters. Healthy soil is the foundation of our food system, supporting healthy crop that nourish people. Healthy soil are the foundation of healthy and nutrition food, healthy people, healthy planet, and better environment. And the soil actually are key to those four betters: better production, better nutrition, better environment, better life, leaving no one behind. With sustainable soil management, we can achieve agricultural growth, ensure food and nutrition security, and adapt to climate change. Actually, healthy soil is capable of providing most terrestrial ecosystem service, therefore contributing to achieve the SDGs and human well-being, as well as, if I need to finish, as well as the Africa vision of sustainable well-being of communities in Africa, the Africa we want. So I think that that's all I needed to tell you, Steve. I thank you once more, and thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Eugene. Thank you for giving us this keynote. We are really edified. You brought all the points clear to us. So we now know that a healthy soil means healthy people and healthy planet. We thank you very much. So now proceed from this point. We now bring the context of a country in Africa, and that context will be from Uganda. So we have a research associate, Mr. Herbert Magobwe, from the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, Makerere University. Herbert holds a Bachelor of Agriculture and Land Use Management and a Master of Science in Integrated Watershed Management, both from Makerere University. Herbert is experienced in conserving and restoring degraded landscape and soil resources. Today, Herbert will be sharing with us the context of Uganda's soils from a research lens. Herbert, please unmute yourself and give us your presentation. Thank you very much. Herbert?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you all. I'm Herbert Magowe. As he has said, we are here looking at how our Ugandan soils are working and how climate change is affecting this soil. How a youth in villages of Karamoja, Western Nile, can utilize the Ugandan soils. The context is big, but we need to understand what are Ugandan soils. Scroll. Next. Here we are. Our Ugandan soils are dependent on topography, land use practices, and climate conditions. Uganda experiences different climatic conditions from north, south, east, and central. This explains the type of soil we have. Among those we have the laterite soils, the sides of Uganda, particularly in central. These soils are reddish brown. We have the fluvial soils, soils from deposition. We have volcanic soils, soils from mountainous areas. These soils are rich in nutrients because they are susceptible to leaching. These soils in Uganda have a challenge of low soil fertility. This is due to accelerated leaching, due to continuous rainfall received throughout the region. Obviously, when these soils are relatively low with low fertility, the big challenge facing that is relative high soil organic matter. Soils which are highly leached, they have low nutrient content. Relative organic matter is also a challenge where the rate of decomposition is affected. The soils are highly affected by soil erosion. These soils are acidic due to high rainfall and leaching, which washes away all the nutrients, leaving the cations of ammonium, aluminium, among others. These soils are also deep. They have a deep profile due to intensive weathering. This intensive weathering is connected to stable climatic conditions, the activities involved. These soils are highly waterlogged, sometimes due to compaction by animals in parts of Karamoja, for example. The soils are highly compacted due to overgrazing. This is a scenario in mainly grazing pastures of Uganda. They rear large animals, but they don't consider the carrying capacity. This is a challenge affecting our soils in Uganda. Next. Next. Soil has a broad picture. Soil has many importance. Our soils in Uganda are serving many importance. Go back. Our soils in Uganda are serving many important functions, and among those, as the current speaker, there's carbon sequestration. Our soils are helping carbon sequestration, nutrient cycling, which support plant growth media. So also provide anchorage for roots, and at the same time, there is nutrient for our crops to grow well. Soils are important in water filtration. Naturally, soils filter water and release it to the reservoirs. Soils are also serve as a source or a habitat for many biodiversity. Important plants, the food we eat, the insects, the bacteria, fungi, worms, and other large organisms. Next. The issue today globally, everyone is talking about climate change, climate change. Climate change is a global phenomenon termed by long-term shifts in weather patterns over a long period of time. It is seen in increased temperatures, decline in rainfall, and extreme events of floods and drought. Recently in Uganda, far in the north, there's a challenge of drought where our soils are getting affected. We have a challenge of floods, and the side of Masaka, River is flooding, River Kagera is flooding. So this challenge is due to climate change. Climate change is now discussed to how it affects human beings, particularly how humans are working on the environment. So when humans use environment poorly, obviously it has mechanisms, that's feedback mechanisms, which set back to our lives. Among the causes of climate change, the burning of fossil fuels, industries are developing all over the country. Deforestation is the order of the day, particularly in the Western Uganda, where people are cutting trees for livelihood. But this challenge is mainly connected to poverty. People are very poor. They find themselves cutting trees for charcoal. Then there is the industrial processing, industries like cement. They release nitrous oxides, which contribute to greenhouse gases. Improper use of synthetic fertilizers. It's not a matter of applying fertilizer all over your work. Particularly in Uganda, there's a big challenge that you go to Western Uganda, Mbarara, you go to Far East Soroti, you go to West Nile, Arua, they are all selling the same type of fertilizer, NPK, in context of 17, 17, 17. But these soils have different conditions and they need to be managed differently. So there's use of fertilizer, but they are not following the right fertilizer, right placement. Then there is a challenge of enteric methane fermentation by livestock, poor manure management, among other. Next. Impacts of climate change on soils. Ugandan soils are reacting differently since we have different soil types. They are reacting differently to climate change. Here we are seeing these soils of Soroti, where there are two maize plants. These soils are highly enriched and they are low in nutrients of NPK. And at least you can see that soils are not performing well. So nutrient depletion is a challenge there. There's a change in moisture levels. We are seeing on our left down, we are seeing how these soils are reacting to environment. There's expansion and contraction all over Karamoja soil. These soils are layer silicate clays of 2 to 1. They face a challenge when the temperatures are high. These soils develop cracks, and it's a challenge. They are poorly nutrient managed soils, and then the feedback is all affected to plants. Plants will perform poorly. Here we are seeing how floods affected the area, erosion. We are seeing how bad our soils are affected in Karamoja. Galleries are too big that to the extent that biodiversity is lost all over. No one can do crop growing. The photo in the corner left is showing how bad our soils have been degraded. And when the soils are degraded, our carbon balance is affected, biodiversity is lost, and the challenge is put on human beings. What will happen to our livelihoods and survival? Next. Next. As the impact is put on the soil, we should stop discussing climate change as a mental issue. climate change should be looked at something very broad, that climate change leads to death of people. Over 2 million people die due to climate change related issues, extreme events of floods, drought. Recently, we had the challenge of death of people in Karamoja due to food insecurity. The soils can no longer support crop production. You see, children are malnourished. And in a due course, people are very poor. The challenge of pest infestation, pests are coming all the time due to climate change. Army recently affected Uganda, and they injected a lot of money to fight these worms. And the feedback we are getting, our property are lost. When you lose property, obviously, you are becoming vulnerable. Then, climate change threatens water quality and quantity. Our water sources, the wells, are drying completely. When you try to see our indigenous sites where we used to go and get water, the swamps, they are dried up. Even those which still exist, their soils are very dirty. They are rich in pollutants, they are rich in heavy metals, plastics, and it's creating a plastic dilemma all over. These plastics end up in oceans all over the world. Then they threaten biodiversity energy, biomass energy. Firewood is very expensive nowadays in Western Uganda. You find 2 pieces of firewood up to 2,000. For a person surviving on $1 per day cannot afford to buy firewood daily. Then disease spread all over the country. Flu, malaria, cholera. These waterborne, water-related, water-based diseases are very rampant in areas which are affected by floods, drought. So there is a need to be done to help our community. Next. Next. Yeah, obviously climate change is here to stay, but we are here to live with it. What can we do to live with this condition? As our last presenter talked about soil conservation practices, like reduced tillage. This reduces tampering with the soil so that we don't expose our soils to leaching, soil erosion. Then cover cropping, cover our soil to reduce the direct sun heat, to reduce rainfall droplets to damage our soil. Then optimize nutrient management. Fertilizer is used anyhowly. Anyone can buy fertilizer. They want to plant maize, they're going to buy fertilizer. So we should look at the strategies to use fertilizer sustainably. Integrated water management, rainwater harvesting, drip irrigation. For rainwater harvesting, I think it should be even a policy that every household should be with a water harvesting technology, an overhead tank. You find that the communities which receive limited rains, they don't tap water and they need it for livelihood and crop production. There's soil organic amendments like composting. We have wastes all over the country, but making these wastes out of use should be looked at. For example, composting, to make fertilizers, to empower our soils. Precision agriculture technology has now taken over. It should be looked at using satellite imageries, satellite agriculture to monitor our soils, to see where the challenge is about to happen, to predict what will happen in the future, and we find ways of mitigating the challenge. Agroforestry and afforestation. Next. What can a youth look at to utilize these challenges? We all cry that we don't have land, the population has increased, but there's a very big opportunity we can look at as youth. Youth slums Can also look at chicken gardening. Chicken gardening doesn't need big piece of land. You can put in your crops, help you in food security and conserving soil. Nursery bed. All over Kampala, we see our road, channels, and trenches. They are full of soil. We can get that soil and use it in making a nursery bed. That soil is rich in nutrients, which can be used by our plants to grow well. At the same time, we use that in landscaping. Composting of waste to make manure. Different technologies are used in this. Few people have tried, but as a youth looking at making soil a business or venturing in soil, you can compost waste. As I've told you before, that our soils are of low fertility. So this composting of waste and other crop produce can be important. Landscaping, apartments are all over the country, but they need people who are technically good in landscaping, designing homes for a business. It's a big business here, someone can track and get some good money, though it's also the importance of conserving soil. Organic farming, there is big market for organic products all over the world, but we cannot even utilize that market where they use. We should look at this. As we look at the conservation agricultural practices, we need directly to talk to our consumers that these organic crops are very important and they pose a good food health. Next. We have soil testing and consultancy. There is business here. Farmers are just growing crops anyhow. Uganda is zoned into different divisions, but now people are growing crops in every region. Crops which are grown in Mbarara are the same grown in Uganda. So we need here people to sensitize the community that there are certain crops which grow in certain areas, to directly involve in the business of agriculture. We need technical people to sensitize people on which fertilizers to use, how to manage land. Land is becoming a global issue. Agroforestry, youth can integrate food crops, fruit trees, and timber trees. Here you can get some good money for a living as well as help our environment. Soil education and training, a youth can venture in this through community meetings, radio talk shows, TV shows. Then composting and organic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers, since they have many importances, empowering our soils, they can be looked at as an opportunity. We have wastes all over the country. So if when we make these organic fertilizers to sell to people in the agriculture, it will be a good business. Bioremediation and phytoremediation. Industries, majority of industries in Africa, policies are there that you have to treat your waste before released to environment, but men are neglecting it. As a youth, you can come up with an innovation to at least find plant species which can help to filter our environment. When you take that proposal to our community industries, it will be very easy for you to venture in. Art and craft. We're seeing tires all over the country. All the tins, they can be put into use. Tires can be used to make shoes. Polythene bags can be used to make bags. So youth can venture into that. Briquette production. Briquette is also a serious business here. Though rural community women are trying it, but it need to be amplified. And if you take it on, it will be something a plus because you have a big percentage in the country. Next. These are some of, no, back. These are some of the photos I've tried to back. These are some of the photos the youth can venture in. This one is briquettes. She's selling briquettes on the streets of Arua. This is sack packed with a lot of plants. This is for food. You can even sell to get money. Seeing a design here of polythene bags. These are waste. You are seeing our plants growing well. Briquettes are from charcoal waste. And business, youth are evolving here in business, selling produce, and they are packaging them in the leaves of plants, mushroom growing, pits, and some of the technologies, the pit, the half-moon pits, used in different communities of Uganda. As a youth, we should look at what best can we do to get money and help our environment. So a youth looking at getting money sustainably, you should look at managing the soil for today and for the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Herbert. It has been really a great presentation. Thank you for highlighting the factors and the fact that most of the issues that are facing our states are man-made, and there's something we can do about it. And also the opportunities that the youth can take and contribute to soil health, but also livelihoods of their communities. Right now, I have the honor and privilege to invite a friend of mine for some time now, Mr. Samuel Nyanzi. Samuel is the founder and executive director of Rural Community and Development, RUCID, and Organic Agriculture Training located in Mityana, Uganda. Samuel is an expert in organic agriculture and holds a Bachelor of Science in Applied Sciences and a Master of Science in Biodynamic Agriculture. Today, Samuel will be sharing with us interventions for adaptation and mitigation of climate change effects on soil. Samuel, I am delighted to invite you to take the microphone and speak to us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. I'm very excited to be part of this webinar, whereby I'm sharing, but also I'm learning quite a lot. I want first of all to thank the presenters who have actually given very, very important and educative information and knowledge to us. So as I've been introduced, I'm Nyanzi Samuel. I work with RUCID, which is Rural Community Development. And my presentation is going to actually look at the magic of microbiology as far as soils are concerned.
Samuel, I think
Please, next slide, please.
Maybe you could.
Hello?
Yeah, you could turn off your video.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So now, am I a bit clearer now?
Yeah, much better. Please go ahead, Samuel.
So I wanted really to actually introduce to you briefly that RUCID has 3 major programs. We have RUCID College, whereby we train young people in organic agriculture. We have another one, which is food processing and value addition, which is also involved in producing agro-based foods or processing them. But also we have community empowerment program, whereby we go out and train farmers. And whatever we do it as we do it using the organic agriculture principles, which nowadays people call it agroecology. Next slide, please. Next slide. The aim of farming is to ensure that human beings continuously have all the required conditions which can make them have a healthy living. If I have to define healthy living, it will be more complex as it depends on an individual being. Much of the conditions which some include. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think healthy living. Somebody to have a healthy living, clean water, is looking at nutritious and safe food, not air, soil, and community. Nutrition and safe food are not there. The natural environment is not good, and there is also disharmony between air, soil, and the community. And therefore, it's very, very important to see how do we bring about a healthy living to our communities. Next slide, please. If I want to look at healthy living in practice, several organisms are found in a forest, include plants, animal, microorganisms, macroorganisms, and different micro and micronutrients. These, when they are working together, they bring about a healthy living in a forest environment. And if these are there, we find out that everything will be working in harmony. And therefore, if we want really to bring about healthy living in our communities, if we want to bring healthy living in the soil, we actually have to think about the interactions, those, because we're looking at healthy living, because everybody who's working, the youth, the old, they want to get a healthy living. Next slide, please. Healthy living practice continue. The forest inhabit coexist with each other, and by so doing, they provide a healthy living for one another. Such interaction bring about healthy living within the forest ecosystem. It is through such an understanding which informs us the manufacturer, the use of biofertilizers in our farming, but also in our daily life. So what I'm trying to say here, if we want to bring out healthy soils, if we want to bring out the healthy living, we have to understand the coexistence of the can we, next slide, please. Next slide. Heather, you look at this place. This is a forest. And when you look at this forest, you find everything is in order. You also see some crops in the backyard. And everything is looking very very nice. We want to bring about healthy, reverse the effect of climate. How does the forest do its activities? So for this, for us at RUCID, what have we done? Next slide, please. Next slide. The trees or the vegetation is the magic. They draw the energy from the sun and the mineral element from the rocks. The energy, that's heat, light, sound, and kinetic energy are stored in the plant tissues and ready to do work. Once any part of the plant is deposited on the ground, the microorganisms welcome it to start breaking down into its constituents. What do I mean? When you look at the forest, the plants are the magic, the vegetation are the magic. They are the source, it's the beginning of the soil fertility. So we find, for those people, maybe what I don't say, for me, I'm a farmer. So I know that these plants, when they trap the energy, when they trap all what is required, which is in the air, they store it. And once these plants are deposited on the ground, then the microbes are there. It starts breaking down into its constituents. So you find what was in the plant now goes back into the soil, as we are going to look to see into our next slide. When we go, next slide, please. As some microbes are reducing the plant's tissue into small elements, others are joining these elements into different designs, which will be admired by other plants and animals. It's a very complex process. Such a process makes all the inhabitants to be healthy, productive, and sustainable. I'm looking at the microorganisms. Some microorganisms are breaking down, while some organisms are trying to package it and make it ready to be used with the plant. And you see, this is needs a lot of understanding. I say research is very, very critical. So that complex processes is very, very important. So when you see in the forest, that's the situation in the forest. But let's go. What happens in the farmland? Next slide, please. When we start to farm, then we are the people deciding what we are putting in the farm. But it's really amazing that some plants are termed as weeds, while some macro and microorganisms are termed as pests. Who have studied fully the integration which goes on in the forest that make it to be productive always. So you see, for us, we start now saying this plant is a weed, this plant is a pest, forgetting that all these plants which are growing in a particular ecological setup, they have a particular interaction. And when we farm, we don't look at that. Therefore, we find out that not understanding the interaction makes our farmers start suffering pests, diseases, and loss of soil fertility, because for them, they have not studied much about those interactions. Next slide, please. When we look at the basis of a healthy soil, we are looking at the minerals which come from the soil. Then we are looking at organic matter, which comes from the tree. But then also we are looking at microbiology, microorganisms. These three, when they work together, they bring about what we call humus. And we know humus has a lot of potential to give all what is required for the plant growth. Humus helps to retain the water into the soil, but also has a lot of micro and micronutrients. And you find from some studies that a plant needs not only three nutrients, NPK, it requires at least 57 nutrients. And this one, where do they come from? When we're actually supplying only 3. So when you get the minerals from the soil, when you get the organic matter and microbiology, then you get a complete food, a complete constituency, which will make our soils very healthy. So let's continue, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, the process, I wanted to talk about the process that takes place in the forest. In the forest, there is deposition of organic matter. That's when the leaves fall from the plant. Then there is decomposition of organic matter. And we all know that decomposition takes place because of living organisms. Those are the bacteria and fungi and within the soil. But also there is another very important process, the redistribution of nutrients. This one, for example, the termites are in the forest. They are now distributing. They work as if they are farmers. They are just putting the organic matter, putting them where they work. Once this cycle is complete, then the fertility of the soil is maintained. And that's why you find the forest will always be fertile, because these activities do take place. Therefore, what should we do if we want actually to maintain the soil fertility? Because once we maintain the soil fertility, then it means the crop productivity will be enhanced. But also looking at the forest is one of the system which actually is a champion in combating climate change, because it absorbs all those dangerous greenhouse gases and what have you. So can we go to the next, please? So when the process that takes place in the forest, that one I've already talked about it. So we can go into on the next slide. That one, decomposition, deposition and redistribution, and then we get at the soil. And what is very, very important, the healthy soil depends on the fertility of the soil, depends on how active the microorganisms are in the soil. And this is very, very important. If microorganisms are not active, then the soil fertility will not work. So we are looking at that, and we are using that phenomena. We are using that feeling to see how can we really improve soil fertility in our farmland. So let's move. Next step. A farmer, what should we do? As farmers, we must mimic this system if you are to sustainably keep our soils healthy and productive. The same system will provide us with healthy foods. So as farmers, but also as scientists, we want to investigate that system which takes place in the forest. And if we can mimic it, then we are going to, the question of soil fertility not being there will be forgotten. As you can see in the next slide, I'm looking at what can we do? Look at that. Keeping soil covered 365 days a year. This is actually a system. Many people talk about it as cover cropping, also soil covering. But this system is whereby you have to make sure that your soils are covered 365 days a year. And that is how do you do that? I think for us, our experience has been that we have discovered that in the forest, the plant grows, the trees plant every day. Every day, there is a particular tree, there is a particular plant which sheds the seed, and that seed germinates into a new plant. And therefore, if you are to take the system in the forest, we have to keep the soil covered 365 a year by planting, by having relay cropping, having different crops being planted at different times of the year. And that is going to help you actually be planting and harvesting on a daily basis. And if you do that, you are keeping the soil covered, but at the same time, you are going to be increasing the productivity of your farm. You are going to be increasing the productivity of your farm per unit area, because every time there is something which you are harvesting, there is something which you are actually planting. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, now we said we are going to mimic. The first one was to be having 365 days green cover every day. Another one is collecting, housing, feeding, and distributing native microbes in the farmland. You see, there are technologies which we all know, whereby you can get these microorganisms, and once you capture them, then you house them. After housing them, you feed them. Now, once they have multiplied so much, then you distribute them in your microbe. You have your energy. So, because how active the soil organism, the microorganisms are, therefore, by so doing, you are trying to bring the microorganisms into your farmland, and therefore, the farmland now will start acting as if it is a forest, because what makes the forest fertile, you have put it into your farmland. And for us here, we have different types of systems of how we collect and feed. We have soil amender, which we are calling bokashi. And this bokashi is whereby we are actually trying to attract. We are trying to attract microorganisms, and then we distribute them. And once we start distributing them in our gardens, you find that our gardens now are behaving. The information which was in the forest is transferred into our gardens, and the gardens become fertile, they become acting as if it's a forest. Next slide, please.
Mr. Nyanzi, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, the connection is not very good, and we've really overshot time. So if you could conclude in the next 2 minutes, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I think this one is another way of introducing microorganisms, that is by having liquid microorganisms, but also having activated biochar. Next slide, please. Next slide. So far to the amendment, this biosoil amendment introduces the information and microbiology from the forest to the farmland. But also, as we say, this one I've already talked about it. So can we go to the next slide, please? Next slide. As a summary, soil amendment substances, sometimes known as biofertilizers, make it possible for microorganisms and macroorganisms to reduce complex molecules into simpler molecules, which can be easily absorbed by plants. Biofertilizers bring balance in the soil and on the surface of the plant, thus protecting the soil and the plants. Maybe what I have to say by ending, how do people actually can actually benefit from this? They can benefit from this by actually making these biofertilizers and biostimulants and selling them to the people who would like it. It's a very booming business, and I want to end here as far as time is concerned. And I'm sorry, I don't know why the network is not good, and yet I'm in Kampala. So thank you very much, and have a good time.
Thank you so much, Samuel. You've really edified us. And now we know that if we are to mitigate climate change, then the vegetation should give us the magic. So we cover our soils 365 days a year. So we've short the time, I can see that, but I hope we can have at least 5 minutes for questions, and then we'll close. So we have a question from Sarah, and I believe this was directed at Eugene. The question goes that what is the main cause of acidity? And it is hard to get enough manure. What do you think about this?
Thank you, moderator, and thank you, Sarah, for the question. Sarah asked that actually that soil acidity appears to be a big problem across sub-Saharan Africa. What is the causes of acidity, soil acidity? First of all, it's I can say that okay, the large part of African soil really from the parent material, the soil are really acidic. But something that could also cause acidity, let's say from the anthropogenic point of view, it's that acidity could also came from the bad agriculture practices that causes erosion, for example. I have said that erosion is the main threat of the African soil. Erosion can cause also acidity. How? It is because when erosion occurs, all minerals that are soluble in the soil are wetted, and it remains those that are not soluble. And those that are not soluble are actually acidic ion. So in this way, the soil became acidic. Sometimes also bad fertilization can also cause acidity. That's why I was saying, okay, it's very important to know the potential of your soil. Soil testing is very important to be able to know what is lacking in your soil. If the soil is acidic, what you can do. You have said liming. Is it liming important? Yes, it is important. When you have an acidic soil, liming is very, very important to be able to reduce acidity. But you do that after testing that you have done to see the level of acidity of your soil. Another good things that can also reduce acidity is adding soil organic matters. Very important. How to add soil organic matters? The previous presenters, Mr. Nyazi, thank you. He said about covering soil the whole year. This can help also to increase soil organic matters. You have said that actually there is not enough organic matter to add mainly in the area where we don't have or in area where soil is not productive. Actually, this is true, but there is a way of teaching how to enhance soil organic matters. The techniques that Nyazi was saying, actually, to be able to cover your soil with cover crops the whole year, it helps actually to have a lot of biomass to be able to have enough organic matters. The combination of agriculture and the livestock, which is sometimes not being applied very well in our area in Africa. The combination of livestock and the agriculture, we have experienced rather conflict between agriculture and the pastoralists. But if they can combine the effort, they can combine the activities, they can actually have a win-win situation whereby they will be able to first of all, agriculturists will have enough manuals when they combine with livestock, and also if we have enough biomass, that also could benefit from those who are doing livestock. So the techniques that I have shown there, agroforestry, cover crop doing, the sectorality of agriculture production, agriculture and livestock. These could really improve soil organic matters in the soil. Something that actually is a hindrance to biomass production, mainly in drylands region, is the lack of water. You know, if you don't have enough water, you can't produce enough biomass. But even in the Sahel, as you may be aware, we have a very big quantity of groundwater that is not yet very well exploited. At least almost 1% only is exploited. So if we bring in techniques that could use efficiently the water, underground water that we have, we can really be able to produce enough biomass and to have enough organic matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eugene. We've short the time really. I just would like to give one person. I saw Catherine, your hand was up. If you could unmute and ask your question, and that will be our last question here today. Please go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to react to the use of groundwater. I worked in Tanzania. I knew about getting water rights. And so when you open a box of Pandora of using groundwater, I think you need really to be careful that there is very important reflections about the rights of local communities to water rights and protecting these rights, because it's really incredibly important in the context of climate change. And I would also like to say that we have to mobilize mechanization, agroforestry around distributional equity. Because if farmers invest in technology that protects the soil, that increases biomass, they should get a better value addition. But it goes through systems of certification, whatever. But there should be a national dialogue on value chain addition. If people invest, if farmers, primary producers, women and men, invest in technology that protects the soil for climate change effects. And that should be a priority for the government, and that should be reflected in national agricultural investment plans. And I really insist, because I saw in Tanzania who gets water rights and who doesn't. And even small farmers, they're going to be marginalized against big investors. So it's really, it opens a box of Pandora. If you go to groundwater and whatever, we see the same in Europe. So I really wanted to intervene. Thank you very much. And it's a wonderful audience. It's a wonderful presentation. So thank you very much for this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, who have joined us from all corners of the world. We thank you for finding the time. We thank our speakers. We thank you, Eugene. We thank you, Herbert and Samuel. Thank you so much for speaking to this very important topic of soil. So we have additional resources that will be sent with this deck to you. We are apologizing that we've not been able to handle the questions. We shall send some answers in the deck that will come to you next week. We call upon you to join us next week, same time, same link. Next week, we shall be talking about water and its relation to food production, and also the implications given the climate change and biodiversity risks that we are facing today. Thank you very much. I want to thank ICOM Foundation